steering, stopping, and stability.
I'm Frank from Inside the Garage for Wrench Nation, talking about tips on your shocks and struts and how to restore the comfortability of your ride.
Now, many of you may be driving a passenger vehicle, a truck, van, whatever have you on four wheels, and you're at a certain point of mileage where the vehicle just feels unstable. You know, when we talk about steering, we're talking about how well the vehicle handles in its steer. If you feel like the steer is real sloppy or it comes up too high, doesn't grab the road, those tires are not really kissing on the road, you probably got an issue with shocks and struts. Let's head back in the shop and actually look at some really bad shocks and struts and what that means to you and what wear can happen to your tires and overall your vehicle in general.
Now, regardless of what kind of vehicle you have, struts, shocks, dampeners are all relative to how well the vehicle is going to both steer, give its ability to stop. Are you getting those increased stopping distances because the front from a worn dampener is jouncing down too much, or the stability? And that's the key. You may be around that mark, that 60 to 80,000 mile mark, where these shocks and struts have gone up millions of times, and they're causing what I'd equate to an aged mattress spring. It's just collapsed.
Now, if the vehicle that you're driving is making all kinds of clattering over roads and it just making all kinds of noise, you probably got a worn strut or shock, and I can show you what that looks like. Remember, what is working for you on those shocks is the fact that these shocks are hydraulically charged. There's a seal in this cartridge here, and over time, that seal can start to sweat or stain. That's visually something that you can check. Not always will you get the leak as it wears, but that leak also is not going to be dripping out. In most occasions, it'll be a slight stain. If I take this worn shock, I can actually take it and easily press it down without much effort. Can you imagine this on the corner of the wheel that's supporting 500, 600, 800 pounds or so on each corner? That's got to be able to hold and dampen it. If I can easily push that down, that's an indication that that shock is worn. Now, as you can see, we've got a shock here. It's a combination where we've got some seepage coming out here. And again, that is going to really be just kind of a staining, if you will. And that's an indication that this shock or strut is in bad condition. Also, some of these have a design where these rubber seals and boots, this is a combination of a dampening control here. You can see where it starts to rot out as well. Really important to understand what kind of suspension you have. If you've got a European suspension, you may have something like this. This is off of a Bentley, and this has ride control that actually is monitored and managed by an electronic control unit, which brings me to the next step. You may have an event flagged or an actual fault in the electronic control unit of your European ride, domestic or Asian. Suspensions have come a long way, and many modern day suspensions today are actually managed by a control unit and sensors to give you a superb and superior ride.
Now, here's another tip. Some of the problems that you can find is not just in the hydraulics of a shock, but if you notice here on these mounting bushings here, so you can see they're rubber, and over time that rubber can start to crack and wear, and it loses its ability to actually stay in its housing mounted to a fixed situation. If that rubber's cracked or broken, it's going to cause a clunking noise as well. Now, here's another valuable tip, and it is imperative and critical. If you're going in to do those struts, you need to replace the strut mounts. These strut mounts have bearings that are located inside, and it'll actually pivot when you are steering. A lot of times you reuse those strut mounts, and you'll introduce new noises. So the best way to do this is to replace the struts along with these vital strut mounts. So now you're ready. You figured 60 to 80,000 miles. You want to get some restoration of that ride. What do you go with? Well, I can tell you in my garage, we use SACHS, all SACHS suspension, struts, and shocks and dampeners. You got the quality from SACHS. They're known for legendary. In fact, over 100 years. ZF, they've been behind the manufacturing of some of the latest technology. SACHS is offering a great quality product to allow you to know that you got the long haul. You know, when I get somebody in my place, I've got to make sure not only do I fix it, but I've got to supply the warranty that's vital to what they're paying for. So let's recap. Keep it simple. Shocks and struts, 60 to 80,000 miles. They can go worn, causing your ride and not feel comfortable anymore, and just overall harsh feel. How can you check it? Make sure there's no leaks. Make sure the struts and strut mounts are taken care of as well. And if you've got an electronic control unit behind it, make sure you're testing that properly to isolate what part of the system is defective and faulty. I'm Frank from Inside the Garage for Wrench Nation. Catch you next time.